This is so much freaking stuff. This is also one of the best games ever made. What do you need to know? Why should everybody should own a copy of this game? Asterix. Let's talk. Now, Awakened Realms went on a limb here. They sent me a copy of Castles of Burgundy. I own no Feld games. I have never played Castles of Burgundy. That's a big... I don't know what the heck I'm getting into. At the same time, this has always been one of those games, right? This is one of the best games of all time. This game is awesome. I can't believe it has so many expansions. Why does it have so many expansions? I don't really know, Chris. Is it any good? Or are people just overhyping it like they do with all the Board Game Geek Top 100? That's a whole separate video, though. This game is freaking amazing. This game is a top 10 game of all time for me right now. I'll tell you that without any qualms about, playing all the expansions, without any qualms about playing it, dozens and dozens of times that you can without any needed replayability issues. This game is effing awesome. Why is this game awesome though? Because this exemplifies everything you want out of a game in a nutshell. The rules overhead is relatively low. How you choose to manipulate things on the board given what you are given on a turn-by-turn basis, whether that's die rolls or tiles coming from a resource standpoint, or one of the various, 6 different types of colored tiles here, how you choose to mitigate those is up to you. You have the randomness of the dice, but you also have the complete control in terms of the board spaces, in terms of being one of the best tactical games ever made, period. Does it live up to the hype? Absolutely. This game is a deluxeified masterpiece, though. And I say masterpiece because everything is over the top. And that's kind of what you need to know. And that's why I put a little asterisk at the beginning of this video. Do you need a copy of this game? Yes. Do you need this version of this game? That's probably where you're going to have to play it first to find out. Awakened Realms does a top-notch job on the component side of things, both in an over-the-top, but also an absolutely functional way in this game, because you have 2 things that are really heavily favoring you in this game. 1, these double layered play boards. Awesome. Then you have the insert that actually holds the tiles in the first place. It just works. These deluxeified tiles, they fit really well right over here when you're gathering the resources. The tiles themselves fit smoothly right into there so that they never shake, rattle, or roll your way out, depending on how you want to do it. The dice, fantastic. The little castles to keep track of who goes in what turn order, also tremendous. All of those basic upgraded quality of life measures are done superbly. Elephant in the room, though, is sort of these castles, right? They are absolutely well produced. They are fantastic miniatures. Awakened Realms does a top-notch job. They are best miniatures on the market. But they also carry with them a huge burden of overhead with this game in the first place. That's why I say the asterisks in this case more than anything else, because the setup and teardown when it comes to these or the terrain tiles is just absolutely massive. And it almost gets in the way of the elegant nature of this game in the first place. It absolutely gives it the most amazing table presence you can imagine. But for a fraction of the price, you go buy the 20th anniversary edition of this game, and you get a few expansions to go along with it that make this glorious symphony of Feldian salad point buffet proportions worth it. And you have an absolute stunner of a game, because ultimately it's the gameplay that makes this game so well-rounded and so long-lasting. You can go watch other videos for how the game actually plays and all the nuances of the gameplay in and of itself. I'm not going to bore you with that. But the fact that this game stands up, this game rivals for me El Grande, Hansa, this, in terms of games that take the core mechanisms, stay true to them, give you more up here rather than here, because there's nothing worse than having a 40-page that and then having less on here that makes it more interesting in the first place. You don't need that to get replayability. You don't need that to get variability. And that's what makes this game freaking awesome. Do you love drawing random tiles from a bag? I do, and that's what also gives this the variability. The die rolling, oh yeah, you get the die rolling. Oh no, it's dice, I'm scared of dice, it's too random. Oh, but you get to take these dice, you can mitigate them in many different ways, and then also how you take your actions is up to you. Now you're going to have random tiles spread throughout the board in the various colored sections that you're going to be having to deal with, and they might give you the ones you want and you might not, but that's where your strategy has to be adaptable, and this game makes you adapt to what it gives you. You cannot meta this game, but that's not necessary, because how you mitigate is the main crux of this game. This game, I dare say, has not been surpassed with many other Euro games since its creation in the first place. And that's saying something with how many games have come out since and how many games even come out per capita, per year, per whatever at this point. This is a game that is truly deserving of its ranking, no matter what version you prefer. Whether or not you like the bling or you just want the basic, hey, there's no wrong way either way. When I mentioned deluxifications, the other thing I cannot understate nowadays is a neoprene playmat. These things make or break games sometimes in terms of ease of getting the board out, table space, as well as I hate when you fold things up and they start to tear at the corners. And so this one, being double-sided depending on the player count, stuns as well. I'll give you the briefest of rules sparsity, if you will. Well, you roll your dice. You get your die rolls, you put them in your corner. Those are your actions for the round. You'd use those actions, but you can get tiles, you can place tiles, or you can mitigate. And you only can do 2 per turn. But you get 5 turns per round. 5 rounds, game over, baby. That's it. Now, you can see they all correspond to the die numbers. Well, you got to have the right die to put the right tile in the right area. Also, color coordinating, unlike my outfits. Also, gather your random resources. Point buffet that way as well in a Feldian nature. Area control, be the first one to fill in of any color in the first place, get more points, so on and so forth. You worry in these point buffet games, right? When you've got so many of these and these and these and these, that there's just going to be too much. There's always the concern nowadays, the disconnect, right? The one that just doesn't seem to, nope, don't worry about it. Include a couple expansions from the get-go. If you're like me, the geese in the White Castle, you don't even realize they're in there, and you're already incorporating things that just flow even smoothly. And there's nothing better to be said of expansions that feel like they were part of the game originally, but also you wouldn't know that they weren't there in the first place. And doesn't add a huge overhead, doesn't make it overly complex or drawn out or outstay its welcome. That is why this is a masterpiece freaking game. Again, whatever version you prefer. And this version's awesome. Don't get me wrong. It's got the great content. It's got the great deluxifications in terms of this. But, you know, it's also, to be said, it's a little bit unwieldy. This is not something you're going to bring to game night. Good gracious, no. Unless you're hosting, like me, all the time. And so then you get to impress your friends with it. But otherwise, the 20th edition, you bust that thing out portability-wise, overhead-wise, lack of just huge freaking castle-wise is completely okay. If you want the prettiest game in town, though, this one, it's nice and shiny and it works really well, too. Is it as functional as I'd like? Probably not. You'd have to have all these things lined up just sitting there, depending on how you draw them out and, you know, then kind of replacing as you go, which isn't my huge favor because I just like smooth, rapid gameplay. But if you don't mind it, there's that for you too. So, you know, again, going back to the beginning, right? This was a huge curveball for me. I'd always had this game on my radar. I've never looked at this game very seriously until it got the reprint. You know, I never imagined that this was going to be a great game for me. I said, this is a great game for a lot of people. This is not gonna, it is. This is a top 10 game for me all time. I have no qualms about telling you that. I have no qualms about telling you I will not turn a game of this down. It's a little bit longer than a lot of the other stuff I will play on a more frequent basis, but boy howdy, is it outstanding. Elegant, simplistic, with just enough touch of complexity. And a rule book that isn't going to make you, well, if I had some, pull your hair out. And that's what all games should aspire to be. Whether or not you want miniatures to go with them is a whole separate issue. Your mileage may vary. That's all I got. Castles of Burgundy. Freaking awesome. Go buy it. Buy one of it. Buy something. And you know, I don't say that very often on this channel. There you go. Stay classy. Have a great freaking day.